All right, everybody. This will be warning to all politicians. I'm running for president 2024, part 112. Sorry about the darkness out there. Not much to look at, but so a lot about energy this election, and like I say, I'm all for clean and stuff like that, clean energy. So I thought I should kind of go over what my energy policy would be. It wouldn't be like low-tech Joe Biden. If you look at the numbers, and you got to look at the numbers on everything. Like I said, there's no free lunch. You know, there's cause and effect. There's you know, in Murphy's Law, everything can go wrong, will go wrong, etc. But there's nothing absolutely green yet. And wind turbines, without their subsidies and stuff, the cost of the electricity that they produce would be higher than what you pay for other sources. Every one of those turbines has something like 40 gallons of oil in it. So there goes your green right there. The constant torsion and torque on those things is eventually going to wear the seals and the bearings.
Better protect your eyes. That dumbass has got every light he owns on.
Sorry about that. That was the CB, by the way, if you're wondering. And if you look at some of those windmills that aren't turning, a lot of it's because they've seized, and you'll see where the oils run out all alongside of them and stuff. From what I gather, from what I've learned researching them, they only warranty those things for like 2 years. So eventually you have to replace or repair all these wind turbines that don't even produce electricity all the time. If the wind is too much, they have to stop them. There's mechanisms that stop them, because then the torsion and the torque gets to be too much, and that'll cause the seals and stuff to fail, and the thing will seize up. And in some cases, when the winds are too high, the whole structure gets twisted and collapses. There's videos of that on YouTube you can find. Solar panels, eventually they degrade. They don't produce, when you first get them, like everything degrades and stuff from weather and everything. They don't produce like they used to, the same amount of energy. And then you have to replace them. They get damaged in hail or whatever. And then you're talking about electric cars, all these batteries and stuff. You know, what are we're going to have toxic landfills full of these old batteries and solar panels that all contain cancer-causing chemicals. And you know, who's going to purchase all these high-dollar electric cars? And you know, I argue with my son all the time. He thinks Elon Musk is the greatest thing from sliced bread, and he is a bright guy, and he does have a lot of good ideas. I'll give him that. But from my understanding, he got a lot of government money, and that's the reason he got so many investors, is because it was backed by the government. And you know, granted, them Tesla cars, man, they're fantastic. I wouldn't mind owning one. Just for the performance of it and everything like that. I wouldn't want to use it to drive across the country and things like that and have it be as a mainstay car. You know, take away the subsidies and everything and let it be, you know, like a car for the rich and the famous, you know, like Ferrari or whatever. But trying to get those cars down to a production price where the average person can afford them, I think is a pipe dream. So my energy policy would be nuclear. I know people, oh no, not nuclear. Look, that's what was pushed in the 70s when I was growing up. it was the energy of the future. It was going to get us off of coal and everything else. And you got to understand this thing about business and the energy things. Nuclear power, a lot of the big money that was going against nuclear power come from other, power companies who were, or the coal mining, paid for a lot of these environmental people to go and protest these plants, and more regulations. Nobody wants it in their neighborhood. Oh, it's so dangerous, and all the propaganda against them. And also the railroad makes a ton of money, and so do some trucking companies, and off of coal. So they don't want to see a nuclear power plant. Now I can understand, Trump is, saying pro coal, pro fracking, and it might be needed for the time being, but it's not our future. And I would invest. Joe, Low Tech Joe says he wants to invest, which means subsidize, which means taking your tax dollars for these wind turbines and solar and stuff. And that's just because him and his cronies and all the people who are for that. You got to remember, when you watch a politician, you might as well just be anything they're for. You might as well just be watching a commercial for that by some company. Period. They're just a mouthpiece for the people who are backing them. They take all that lobbyist money and everything like that. So Trump's looking for votes and everything. Hey, fracking uses a lot of chemicals and a lot of water going. I don't think it's that environmentally friendly. But the difference between like subsidizing oil companies and allowing this stuff and windmills and stuff is oil is a strategic asset. You cannot run a military without oil, period. You cannot run an economy without oil, period. Both are vital to the survival of the nation. You understand that? Wind turbines are not vital to the survival of the nation. You can't have a strong military without a strong economy. You can't have a strong economy and nation without a military to protect it. That's just the facts of life in the world that we live in. So I don't think battery-operated cars and windmills, etc., are the way to go. I don't think coal is the thing of the future. I'm sure with technology we can find better ways to burn coal. We can find things to do with the waste from coal plants. We can definitely have better filtration systems to control what's going into the air. If we got to give them big tax breaks to get that and make sure they do that, and if they don't take advantage of those tax breaks and just pocket the profits, then people go to jail. Should anyway. So, you look at MIT and over in England. Was it Oxford? Is that Oxford over there? Cambridge? Is that which one is that over there? Is that both of them? Anyway, I was looking on YouTube. Cold fusion. There's a lot of places looking into that. You look at France. I believe most of their, if not all of their electrical power is generated by nuclear power. Now, you build one nuclear power plant. What's it good for? 50 years? And I'm not sure how often you have to replace the pellets, but I'm guessing it's not as often as you're going to have to keep rebuilding wind turbines. So I'm guessing over a 50-year life period of a nuclear power plant, the amount of power it's going to put out is going to dwarf whatever you get from wind turbines, and at a cost for pennies on the dollar compared to wind turbines. I'm pretty sure of that. So I would invest in new energies. I'd make sure these researchers and these labs, all the high-tech stuff, and we need high-tech. Look, if you're not building plants and stuff, nuclear, you need nuclear engineers and all these types of people. And you need a reason for people to go into those fields, to go through the university and get the degrees and study all that. They're not going to do that if that's not what's looking like is going to be a career for them. And the more you turn away from that, they're going to look, it's all they're going to look into is computers and this and that. Now, you need electricity to make the hydrogen. You need to split the hydrogen out and the oxygen in the water. So you got nuclear power plant, which uses water, to generate the steam to turn the turbines. And, you see those cooling towers and you'll see steam going out. Well, what about capturing that steam and using some of the electricity from that plant? Or not, maybe you don't even have to capture that steam anyway. And making hydrogen. You can run a car off of hydrogen. Now, I don't know in the case of these trucks if it would be as efficient. There's a lot you got to take into. The daily driver or somebody in LA is not going to need to be able to, go through the massive temperature swings that, one of these trucks does, and a lot of people don't know it and would probably argue with it, but these modern diesel engines are modern marvels. They are absolute technical beasts, and they're built to last. Well, it doesn't matter what brand they are, Detroit, Cummins, PACCAR, Volvo. You can put a couple million miles with the proper care on one of these engines, and that's an awful lot of work, a lot of production. In that respect, they are very efficient. All kinds of weather, you got to add some anti-gel to the fuel in the winter and stuff. I don't know what hydrogen and batteries and all that kind of stuff, the different things you would have to do, the problems you would have to overcome with all of that. So hydrogen for these trucks and the distances they have to go, and the mileage you would get out of it and the cost, I don't know if you measure the hydrogen in gallons or whatever, but the MPGs versus the cost, etc. So I don't know if it's right for these trucks, but for the average daily commuter, I think that's the way to go, hydrogen. So my energy policy would be more towards the high tech instead of going backwards like low tech Joe to windmills. Do they serve a purpose here? Yeah, I'm sure they do. You always see these commercials, promoting them. They'll show some village on an island or something that has a wind turbine, and yeah, we get our electricity. That scenario where you're not needing that much, and most of those people, I'm sure, in those villages and stuff have wood stoves or fireplaces and stuff for the wintertime, etc. Those types of situations, yeah. I would even be for, giving out grants to small towns to convert their trash dumps into these, generating stations, that run off of methane. And I'd also be into supplying, these small towns and stuff with hydrogen fueling stations. And see if you can get Chevy or somebody or whatever to make a production amount of cars that can run on hydrogen or whatever, and give it a go. Let's crunch the numbers. Let's do something. These people who are just wind and solar, put all their eggs in this basket because they're going to subsidize them and stuff. I'm telling you, they're selling you a bad bill of goods. They are selling you a bad bill of goods. You cannot have innovation and competition if you have government money focusing everything, in one area, just so their lobbyists and their supporters can get rich. It's like a toll road. Anywhere there's a toll road, the roads around there are left neglected because they don't want the competition. They want you to use that toll road and spend that money there. And that's why, if you ever wonder, hey, how come our highway doesn't? It's because they want to keep the trucks on the toll road. If they upgrade your highways, your secondary roads, more traffic will just, why should I pay the toll? I can run down this route. It's only 10 miles further. Do you understand that? Toll roads have stagnated a lot of highway development in this nation. You know, and look at the, all right, the Port Authority's got to go or something up there on the East Coast. That bottleneck to get into the city, back and forth with the tolls, unless you can get everybody on pre-pass where nobody has to stop, you got to get rid of the tolls. Period. You're worried about greenhouse gases? Look at what you cause every single day. And it's been going on for decades, and people put up with it. Why? Why? Look at the bottlenecks in Portland and Seattle and stuff, because they have not developed their highways. Other places have not developed their highways. There is so much. Buy an atlas. Go out there, buy an atlas. A trucker's road atlas. And just look at the cities and stuff and the highways that go into them and stuff. There are so many different routes that could be built where, you know, 50-75% of the truck traffic that goes through those cities would go around. They would take the shortcut instead of going through the city and dealing with the traffic. Or even if it's 10 miles further, they would go around. There are other routes we can develop. You know, it's good we needed the routes into the cities because, you know, we got to move goods in and out of where the people are. But that doesn't mean we have to go through every city. There are routes, you know, that could be developed to where, you know, if you're going New York to LA or vice versa, why do you have to pass through so many cities on the way if you're not going there? You see what I'm saying? So much of the truck traffic where you live could be diverted and relieve congestion. So I would focus on that. I would focus on investing in high tech. And look, if we're planning on traveling to the stars and stuff in the future, you can't do that with millions of tons of fuel. You're going to need some high-tech propulsion system, which is probably going to be nuclear or something. You're going to have some type of power plant on that craft that can produce power. You know, so I would invest that way instead of like low-tech Joe who wants to subsidize windmills and solar farms that take up a huge amount of land, are always going to have to be replaced, do not produce enough kilowatts to be competitive with anything. You know, does solar have its place? Yeah, like I live in Arizona. I think every bus stop, you know, if you've ever waited for a bus in Phoenix in the middle of summer, it's a miserable experience. You know, they should be bigger, more sheltered, you know, and over the top you could have a big solar canopy. You know, you'd have like two layers. You'd have the big solar canopy under, and then under that you'd have another roof and like a ventilation, exhaust fan system for the heat to rise out from underneath. But, you know, shade upon shade works pretty good. Even if it drops the temperature 10 degrees within that bus stop, hey, what's wrong with that? And then you got the solar panels there. You can power your street lights and stuff. You know, I'm just so tired of everything's so stagnated. Politicians arguing about, you know, should we allow, you know, and it's ridiculous if you look at what the left is for. You know, they're anti-religion, you know, they don't want your kids to believe in God. They don't want your kids to believe they're a boy or a girl by their genitals. They go into schools, they teach all this stuff. They're for abortion, you know, they say they're pro-life and Black Lives Matter and all this, unless it's the life of a black child in the womb of a black woman. They don't care about that life. That child, they could care less if that child sees its opportunity to experience life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But some drug dealer that gets shot by a cop who attacks the cop and stuff, they are using that for political means to get you to vote for them, to get you to be anti-Trump, to get you to be anti-America, everything, to vote for them, and they're promising you all kinds of free stuff. And the only thing they care about is abortion, homosexuals, and illegals. Look at all the homeless people in California and other states. But I mean, you look at you haven't seen it. We see it. Us drivers that go to the industrial areas and all the back streets and stuff and everything, we see it. A lot of you people don't see it. Whether they're living in campers or makeshift tents and stuff under the freeways, you don't see it out there across America. You don't go into the cities like we do. We see it. Now you have millions of Americans homeless, and you want to let millions of more people into the country. Shouldn't we take care of our own first? There needs to be people out there going out through where all these homeless people are and sorting them out. But these states have laws. They don't even know. You can't even go see who they are or what they're doing on the street. Nothing. They can sleep in the parks, wherever. They can shit on the streets, all this and everything. You need people out there going through them. Number one, there's a lot of criminals hiding from the law, living out there. Don't want to be found. You need to go through. You need to get down. You need to find the people who have mental problems and get them into facilities where they can get help. You have other people who have just fallen through the cracks and just need a little help to get back on their feet. You need to go and get them and give them jobs before you bring illegals in and give them the jobs. Like I said, I don't care who uses my ideas as long as they use them and make life better for America, and in doing so we can then lead the world, and we can say, hey, look, this is the way what needs to be done. It's like Mexico tells its poor people, go on, go, we don't care, and then points the finger at us. Does Mexico have minimum wage? Does it have Medicare? Does it have Social Security? Joe Biden's on, hey, we got to help these people. Why don't you tell Mexico to help their own people? God damn it. These politicians and these pundits and these news people and these celebrities get on TV and they throw all this crap in your face, and none of them even bother to look at the brass tacks and the nuts and the bolts and the cause and the effect and look for solutions. All they do is spew a bunch of shit and get people not even thinking about what the problem is and how to fix the problem. We're just going to give you this and that. Is it the solution? Have you yourself sat down and said, wait a minute, is that the right way to go? That's what it's all about. What is the right thing to do? And you're not going to find the right thing to do if you just have a bunch of people tell you, yeah, blah, 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 and that's the way we're going to go, and they make it sound good to you, and they sell it to you. Then you find out it's not too late to go after millions of dollars and a bunch of bullshit, and they haven't done nothing to help anybody or anything in the country. It's 2020. It's time we stop wasting time with all that kind of horse shit. You know, a politician, whether they're Democrat or Republican, are supposed to be doing what's in the best interest of the country and the people. And that means they have to study. That means they have to talk to engineers. That means they have to talk to physicists. That means they have to talk to people who are in energy and who are not going to lie and who are going to tell them, look, you're pissing in the wind if you go down this lane. You're pissing in the wind if you're chasing after that. You know, I know there's a lot of people, nuclear power. Look here, 3 major nuclear accidents. And actually 2. You got 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima. 3 Mile Island, if I remember right, was a procedure was done wrong, some valves didn't open, etc. They say there was no radiation leaked or whatever, that they didn't bleed any of the steam off. But the big thing was they thought they were going to have an explosion because the pressure was building too much in the housing or whatever you want to call it there. Fukushima, look, you're where there's earthquakes and all that happen, you shouldn't build a nuclear power plant on the edge of the ocean where you're going to get a tsunami and it's going to flood you out. So we learned from that. So you can build a nuclear power plant. Don't build it on a fault line or near where it can get swamped by water. And like Chernobyl, that was from what I've read and heard, that was a bad design. And then there was some serious mistakes made. They were running some kind of test or something, and they didn't do it right, and that's what caused it. There's also, stories out there, conspiracy type stuff, if you want to call it that, which I don't necessarily call everything, laugh it off as a conspiracy theory, but there is stuff out there that say it might have been some kind of sabotage. So, I'm pretty sure France gets all of its nuclear power or most of its power from nuclear power. I don't believe I've ever heard of them having a major accident. There's nuclear power plants all around the world, been in service for decades, have never had an incident. And with modern technology and modern building standards and stuff, I believe they can be made very safely. You don't have to put them right next to a population. There's plenty of open land in this country. I think things like that. I'm not for putting all our eggs in one basket and putting windmills up all over the friggin' place. I believe they have their place. Yes, I believe solar has its place, but I don't believe it's our future. What are you gonna do? Achieve with windmills? I believe, hey, I would get the guys from this old house and other people that are trusted in construction and know about, the thermodynamics of homes and this and that. What's the best way to make a energy efficient home without breaking the bank? And we'd set new standards for building new homes. And then we'd put in some standards, and offer tax breaks for people who have older homes to upgrade. Not this mandate stuff. We're going to do this by 20-something. We're going to get rid of all this. We're going to shut this down. We're going to do... No, you can't do it that way. Engine technology. Like I talked about these engines in these trucks. There's even new engine technology for combustion engines or compression engines like these diesels are out there. All you got to do is go on YouTube and look through. There are plenty of engine designs out there, revolutionary. Some of them not so revolutionary. They were invented back in the 1800s, but for one reason or whatever, the technology wasn't good enough back then to make them work. Now they're taking a second look at a lot of stuff. So joining these accords and having all these politicians stomping around and these environmentalists stomping around saying we got to do this or do that, I don't believe that's the way to go. I believe you can offer incentives and do what you can to inspire people and to have competition and innovation. That's what's built this country. The bigger, better, faster mousetrap, will develop on its own. There are people with ideas and stuff that they will develop. I mean, you've got to invest in certain, like I said, I would invest in these schools that are researching all this type of stuff and different types of energy. Tesla used to say he could grab electricity straight out of the air, and MIT saw a thing where MIT lit a light bulb across the room with no wires. I'm all for looking into all of that type of stuff. And even with that, I'm like, hey, there's no free lunch. What's the downside to it? Tell me, what's the down, if we grab all kinds of free electricity out of the air, if we could put something on every house that would just grab electricity out, would that do something to deplete our electromagnetic shield or something to do with the atmosphere? You're always going to, I don't even know if those two are connected. I'm just saying there's always something, so I'm for exploring for all these new types of stuff and everything, but I don't think going low-tech Joe windmills, you're not being told everything about windmills. It requires special transport, a zillion tires on them trailers. They're all made from petroleum products. The windmill, the turbines got 40 gallons of oil in them. They leak that oil. It's got to be replaced. The turbines got to be replaced. It's not green, okay? Stop saying it's green. It is not green. It's not efficient. If it wasn't subsidized, you would not see any freaking wind turbines. So, well, with global warming, we got to pay the cost, this and that. You're a fool. If you had a solution other than wind turbines, some kind of cleaner energy, like a nuclear power plant, something more efficient, something that isn't bullshit, I would say you're right. But you're pissing in the wind. If you've got a solution that works, hey, we need to invest in it. If it's going to make less carbon footprint and everything, make everybody happy, let's do it. But I'm not going to listen to you say, oh, we got to do something no matter the cost if we're pissing in the fucking wind. You're a bunch of goddamn morons. All right, wish you the best out there. Be safe. Have a good election. Good Thanksgiving. Wish you all the best. Adios.